Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now this is something of a continuation into my discovery journey into what was released by some of the larger watch brands during Watches and Wonders 2023. So yesterday I did a video in which I dissected the Rolex releases. It's quite a long video because there were a lot of releases from Rolex. So today I'm just following that up with another watch brand which I particularly follow myself, that of Tudor. Now I'm not in the field today doing this one, unlike yesterday, because it's raining profusely. So I'm in my office. So apologise if you like to see the countryside behind me normally. Tudor is a bit easier to talk about in 2023 because clearly they've been releasing watches throughout the year. So we had the Tudor Ranger in 2022 and then latterly the Tudor Pelagos 39, which were both actually quite landmark watches. You know, the Ranger, essentially a bit of a Rolex Explorer clone, entered the market, and it's a utility sort of tool watch, which is very functional, very simple, very modestly priced, very attractive. Then we had that Pelagos 39 later in the year, made of titanium, bit of a pioneer in the field of sports watches. Beautiful watch. Very, very attractive with its sun ray dial. Lots going on with that watch to make people be drawn towards it, particularly as Tudor have continued their habit of introducing the T-Fit clasp, this very practical, functional, easily adjustable, on-the-go watch clasp, which makes all of their watch range now increasingly become very comfortable and wearable. So what did they release in 2022? Well, actually, 23 rather. There were some very nice pieces. The first one I'll talk about is something which really caught my eye, and that's what they call the Black Bay 54. Now, the Black Bay 54, on the face of it, appears to be a smaller version of the very popular, monumentally popular Black Bay 58 range. The Black Bay 58 range has been increasing over the years, different materials, different colorways. One might have thought we would have seen something entering the Black Bay 58 range, but no, Tudor have wrong-footed us. And they've introduced this whole new watch, essentially, called the Black Bay 54, which is a shrunken version of that 58. The 58, of course, is 39mm. This Black Bay 54 is a 37mm watch. So again, it makes this watch very versatile for people with smaller wrists. Now, whether you're a gentleman with a smaller wrist, such as myself, I've got a 6.5-inch wrist, so I would definitely consider wearing a 37mm watch. Or if you're a lady, perhaps, who across the wider population tend to have smaller wrists, you would say this may be a watch which is pitched at a feminine wrist because of that size option. It is new. It's a new member of the Black Bay line, and yeah, it apparently is a replication of a dive watch released by Tudor in 1954, hence the name the Black Bay 54. It costs £3,200 British on the steel bracelet, less of course if you buy it on the non-steel. Again, comes with a 200-meter water resistance, as you would expect, because that's prominent across all of the Black Bay range. 70 hours of power reserve, again, kind of the industry standard now. COSC rated, so accurate to plus or minus 2 seconds per day. It's got the MT 5400 movement inside, and it comes with the T-Fit clasp when you buy the watch on the stainless steel bracelet. So all in all, a pretty attractive package indeed, and one which I think might entice many people into the Tudor family who are perhaps reluctant to do so because many of their watches do tend to be on the somewhat larger side. So, talking about very flexible range of watches, which I don't think really get the appreciation they deserve, and that is the Black Bay range, so their standard Black Bay range. There's been several revisions to that Black Bay range, most notably, and I think the most visual aspect that most people will notice straight away, is the introduction of a 5-link bracelet now available on that watch. It's essentially what we would call the Jubilee bracelet if it was on a Rolex watch, but of course Tudor can't call it that. It's just called a 5-link bracelet, and it adds an element of dressiness to that watch brand, or that watch line, the Black Bay line, which I think the line was pretty well served anyway, but that Jubilee really adds a new dimension to it. A dimension which I think many people will find attractive. Now, it's available across their whole range, 31, 36, 39 and 41 millimeter range of watches. So there is truly one of these watches for everybody, depending on the size of your wrist. That bracelet comes with the famous Tudor T-Fit clasp, which is, well, I think it revolutionized the comfort of the Tudor watches to which that clasp is fitted. And it's good to see it being fitted on one of their staple lines, like the Black Bay line. So yeah, very attractive. If you were to buy the 41 millimeter range, size rather, it would cost £3,370. So a very attractive price for what is a very attractive and very capable watch with a solid movement. Very, I think now with, you know, these new models they're bringing in, very worth thinking about if you're entering the luxury watch market and you're within that price range. It definitely is up there fighting for your attention. Talking about the Black Bay range, as we have to when we talk about Tudor, it now makes up the lion's share of the watches which they sell. The Black Bay 41 millimeter Burgundy range. So this big, large, very workmanlike tool watch, dive watch in essence, now comes with a burgundy bezel. It has been burgundy in the past. It's fallen out of the range some time ago, but it's now come back with a vengeance. And that burgundy bezel demands your attention. I think it's one of the more enigmatic watches within the Tudor range, and I find it very attractive indeed. It also becomes available with the Jubilee bracelet, which we've just talked about in the standard Black Bay range. So yeah, a very attractive addition, that Jubilee, or the 5-link steel bracelet which they're bringing in. I can see it, you know, really revolutionizing the look of many of their existing watches and making people think again about something which they may not have previously done so. They tell us that this new Black Bay 41mm burgundy bezel watch has been revisioned as well. You know, its case size has been a bit of chamfering here, bit of touching up there. It's now slightly slimmer, it's not so slab-sided. The crown, which used to protrude quite a bit, has now been made a bit closer to the body. A lot going on. Also available in black rubber strap, as well as that Jubilee bracelet, and the Oyster bracelet, of course. So, you know, you've got the full range available there. £3,720 if purchased on the Jubilee bracelet. Obviously slightly less if on the other options, fitted with that T-Fit clasp. Yeah, very, very attractive piece. METAS certified as well. So almost, I think everything in the Tudor range will be COSC certified. METAS being the higher level of accuracy certification, now being introduced into the Tudor range on more models. So good to see that this new Black Bay Burgundy will have the METAS certification. So the Tudor Royal range. So essentially, I would describe it as their business or dressy line of watches, really. Not personally something I find attractive, but definitely a watch which I know entices people who prefer a slightly more dress watch style to come to the Tudor range. Some variations on the dial, basically. So you will now see a chocolate brown dial and a salmon dial, available on their steel models, their steel gold models, their sunbrush dials, so they do catch the eye, join the existing colour range, you know, the blues and so on. So a nice addition if you're looking for something maybe a little different. I believe they're available across the whole range of different sizes and different model variations, you know, the basic, the date, the day date and so on. So lots of options there. If you were to buy the 41mm size Tudor Royal, it would cost £3,070 British pounds. So again, quite attractive price point to get into it if you were to do so. Now I've left the one which I found probably the most interesting until last, and it is the Tudor Black Bay GMT range. It's been expanding. When they first came out, I'm actually wearing a Tudor Black Bay GMT, the original model here, the black dial with the red and blue bezel. Since they came out in 2018 in red and blue, they've been expanding. So I think last year they brought out the root beer version, the steel gold version in essence, with a brown option on the bezel. So this year, they've kept the bezel red and blue, but they've altered the dial. We now have what to the naked eye would look like a white dial, a polar dial, but in essence, Tudor tells us it is called opaline. And yeah, it alters the aesthetic of this watch entirely. But in essence, that's the only thing they've done to this Tudor Black Bay GMT. They haven't altered the case, they haven't altered the size or the movement at all. It still remains COSC certified, movement inside. It still, unfortunately, is only available on the Oyster bracelet with their standard clasp. Now this is something I think they've totally missed a trick here. Very, very disappointing. I've owned this Black Bay GMT since they first came on the market, and I have to say I have never loved the clasp. It is incredibly difficult to get a really nice fit. It's a big chunky watch, so you want a good fit on the bracelet to make sure it's nice and snug against the wrist. Unfortunately, I've never been able to be satisfied with the very limited micro adjustment which this watch has, and that micro adjustment requires a tool for you to do it, so you can't do it on the go. The introduction of the T-fit clasp throughout all of these watches I'm talking about today, except for the Royal, really shows you that the T-fit clasp is entering the range with a vengeance because they're so comfortable. I expect a luxury watch to have micro adjustment on the go in this day and age. It really saddens me that whilst Tudor have introduced this new dial on their GMT range, they didn't fit a T-fit clasp at the same time. Now I know it might have made previous owners uncomfortable that this new model was having an upgrade in essence, but there we are. There has to come a point where you introduce something and everything before it is a little bit not quite as good. I'm sorry that Tudor lost this opportunity. From a dial aesthetic point of view, I think it's very attractive. I like this polar dial GMT. It's definitely one of the better additions they've introduced to this range, and I think it might well attract some people into the watch. But sorry to see that they did not alter the bracelet issue, which I think is glaring with this watch. It really isn't sufficiently comfortable a bracelet for a watch at this price point and with such a need. But there we are. I think it's a lovely watch other than that. And this new dial is definitely going to be a welcome attraction. So there we go, that's the Tudor range this year. Not too much, but then again, we know Tudor introduces watches throughout the year, as we saw last year with the Ranger and the Pelagos. So who knows, there may be other things to come. I thought I'd just whiz through those with you today, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, click the old red button. If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee, you can join as a patron, or you can simply leave a comment in the comment section below and be part of the conversation. So until the next time, wear your watch, whatever you've got on today, with pride and passion, and I will see you again very soon.